and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLM, so that's anti-multi-level marketing, life, and some true crime content here on this channel. So if any of that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to stick around. In today's video, I am bringing you anti-MLM content, so of course, just as a disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only and just my opinions. I am so excited for this video today because I have referenced Kat Benson from Unlock Nutrition here on my channel so many times in so many videos because she creates great content. She has a lot of anti-MLM content as well because she kind of dives into the ingredients of certain health and wellness products because she is a registered dietitian nutritionist. But today we are going to kind of have a collaboration. This is part one. Part two is going to be on her channel. We're going to go over some things that Kat has to say about the MLM industry. And then part two is going to go over what I have to say about the MLM industry from the CBD aspect of it. Because if you guys didn't know, we do have a small business that is a CBD brand. We created our own brand. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this interview.
My name is Kat. I'm a licensed and registered dietitian nutritionist and online nutrition coach. And other than that, I have two online LLCs, and one of them is focused on sports nutrition. That one is co-owned and co-hosted. We have a podcast with that at Iron Movement, and that one's mostly sports nutrition. Really, we have a lot of focus into the CrossFit kind of area, weightlifting, that kind of sports activity. And then with Unlock Nutrition, I focus more so on gut health and also prenatal nutrition. Being a registered dietitian nutritionist and having a lot of license in multiple states, though, I can do other medical nutrition therapy as needed. I have a background in clinical nutrition. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. And then my channel is just, I like to talk about more sustainable habits. I have I forgot to mention this. I have a haze focused approach as far as like the lens of how we see everything. There's a lot of confusion and misinformation, I would say, around haze and what that really means. And so that's something that I'm also trying to bring to my channel and talk more about.
Okay, so what exactly is haze? Because I've never actually heard of that, and I don't know if anyone on my channel has ever heard of that either. So if you just want to go ahead and explain that.
Yes, absolutely. So haze is often, some people think it means healthy at every size, but it actually means health at every size. And it's really just about having appropriate care for that person and allowing them to do things that really support their whole health. And I always bring it back to the definition of health by the World Health Organization. They define health as complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Not merely the absence of disease or infirmity, but that first part I really like to focus in on and add into that emotional as well. So how I define health is physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being. And so if we are doing some kind of nutrition program, nutrition plan that is, even helpful to the physical side, which a lot of times they aren't helpful, but if it is, but it's causing this kind of overwhelm or stress or anxiety, then it's not really promoting that true definition of health. And so we need to be able to focus on actions that provide that whole health support and that are sustainable and that overall are less weight focused, I would say.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've noticed on social media, you're really big into kind of talking about, not even necessarily, I don't see you talk about diets per se. I see you take kind of like a healthy approach to it and take a different approach because, of course, there's always going to be people that talk about dieting and stuff like that. And as someone who has yo-yo dieted quite a bit in her life, and I've tried literally every single trendy diet, I've found a few that kind of help, but yeah, it's usually for me, it's like when I make a lifestyle change, so to speak, is when it actually does something good. And I noticed that you focus on having a healthy relationship with food and with your body. So it's not just like, hey, here's a diet and good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that takes into account the medical nutrition therapy side, right? Like if somebody has issues, then we can adjust their intake to help their body better manage those symptoms and everything. So yeah, there's definitely room for nutrition management of just, intake to help that physical piece, but it's just the approach of it and not having that aesthetic focus and that weight focus.
Okay. Yeah. So then my question would be, when it comes to, when you see, if we want to bring it back to like MLMs and stuff, when you see these health and wellness MLMs, and I'm sure, because I know that we both watch each other's channel, and and thank you. I love your channel too, because it's so educational, and I feel like we need more expertise in the anti-MLM community or sphere or whatever, because there's just not enough information out there because, a lot of us can sit here and talk about the tactics all we want, but I feel like we need some kind of expertise in here too. So I actually recently, I just finished editing this video. It's going to go up on Wednesday, but I shouted out your Isagenix video in it. Yeah, so I shouted that out. Yeah. My Isagenix video has gotten some hate. I actually had to, the person that I spoke about that commented on it, which is what brought me to talk about your video, is they were very, very rude, and they were talking about how kids are fat as hell. That is literally what they said nowadays. And they spoke about how they're twice my size and the shake is perfectly fine for them. Because in that video, sorry, let me backtrack, because the comment had two different things in it. So first of all, the person spoke about how kids are unhealthy and they're fat as hell nowadays. So that's why Isagenix has like a kids program or like kids products. And then he also spoke about, because I guess in the video, I didn't rewatch the video, but I'm assuming, if I'm remembering correctly, that I spoke about how in Beachbody, they have those portion control containers, which is actually something I want to ask you about later on. But they have those portion control containers, and I was actually hungry because I started working out more, because I started just liking different types of ways of working out. So it wasn't just the Beachbody programs. I started going to the gym and stuff like that. And the Shakeology wasn't enough for me. Right. So, oops, sorry. Did you hear my phone?
I heard a little bit of static noise.
Okay. Really random off topic. After our one comment section, when we were talking about bruh, I changed my notification to bruh. So that's why I was like, I wonder if you heard it.
No. Oh, I wish I would have heard it. That's awesome. It's awesome, bro.
But okay, anyway, so the guy talked about how, because I said how I was hungry, and how instead of taking the Shakeology, what I ended up doing was I just started to have like well-balanced dinners, and I started eating healthy dinners. So actual food, not drinking it. And I didn't gain weight or anything like that. And I actually felt much better, and I felt less starved, if we want to say that. And he actually said in the comment that he's like, I'm twice your size, and I'm fine with having this shake. And yeah, it was just, I thought it was so rude, because it's like, how do you know that you're twice my size?
Right. And even at that, like, hunger is not a bad thing. I think sometimes we can kind of get to a place where like we need to not be hungry at all or anything. But hunger is a sign your body telling you that it needs something. Sometimes whether that is that you just need more sleep and it's just trying to get you to eat to get energy physically, and you might need to go to sleep, but at the same time you also might need those actual calories, those actual energy and the nutrients that you get from food. And so sometimes if people suppress their hunger cues for a while, they can start to be less hungry, they start to eat less, and their metabolism also goes down. And so it's not really a flex always to be like, well, that filled me up, because if you're still hungry, that's a sign that maybe your metabolism is a little bit higher, and that's okay. That's healthy. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I was working out like a lot and it was just,
Mm.
yeah, but to read that comment. And then he also said, that kids are fat as hell thanks to parents like me. I'm like, I'm not even a parent. Like I'm not even a parent.
Right.
But okay.
A lot of what we have seen in the history of like, why are we seeing that kind of trend? You know, what has changed? And around that, like, what have been the things that have been implemented, and has that changed anything? And what we have found is that shaming people and making them, you know, scared into health doesn't work. Like, for
Yeah.
the vast majority of people, it's not sustainable. It just causes a lot of times more stress, which we know that stress can increase your stress hormones. Like, the psychological stress can have physiological impacts, and that's not helpful. You have higher cortisol, you have higher blood sugar levels, you start to have insulin resistance. And so to go at it in a shaming way, if it was helpful, then we would be at a different place than where we're at right now. So yeah, that's a ridiculous comment and very sad. Very sad.
My next question for you is, as someone who is registered, a registered dietitian nutritionist, what do you think of a lot of these, if it doesn't matter which one, but a lot of these like health and wellness reps, and like when you see them talk about food as if they're like an expert. Yeah,
Yeah.
like what are your thoughts on
Oh,
that?
I have a lot to say on this, and some of it is okay. Just starting it off. So I am not, and I don't like when people, you know, bash a whole group of people, right? You know, there's a lot of
Mhm.
variance within in groups. There are, though, a lot of dietitians who are a little bit, and I understand why, because they are, you know, nervous for people to get harmful information, and just, you know, going down a rabbit hole of, you know, being fearful of food and just kind of being overwhelmed and confused about everything. A lot of that confusion around nutrition has come from kind of people telephoning nutrition advice and information.
Mhm.
Um, and so because of that, there are a lot of dietitians who are not very like big fans of anybody talking about nutrition who aren't licensed registered dietitians. I am not in that camp. I feel like we have a very we can have a very good relationship. We can work really well together with other nutrition coaches. And you know, I'm, as you know, as long as we're within scope of practice and everything's good with that, you know, I'm fine with that. So I am not against people who are not dietitians, who are also doing nutrition work to help people be healthier. That's great. I think we can all benefit from that. CNSs, they're great. Um, the problem is, though, when all you have to do in order to do that is, you know, pay $99 or whatever, be 18 years or older, and give your social security number, and you're then a coach. Like, that is a problem. If you don't want to go the route of being a registered dietitian, that's okay. You know, you don't have to be that in order to help people with their nutrition. But there are very good, reputable other ways to do that. That's actually one of the reasons why I made a video. It was kind of a while back, but it was to distributors of nutrition related companies, MLM companies, because a lot of times you hear that they're like, well, I just want to help people. Like, this helped me so much. Like, what is so wrong with that? But if that's the case, then here are ways that you can do that and do it in a way that's not going to cause more, you know, confusion and shame and guilt around nutrition. Because if you look at each of the individual companies, like Arbonne has their 30 days of healthy living that they say is for gut health, and it's, you know, not a diet. But when you look at medical nutrition therapy protocols for gut health, it's not what they're doing. Especially with the reintroduction of everything. It's very different. And same thing with Beachbody. Like, they think, you know, their programs are the best. Unless you're a very high level top Beachbody coach and who doesn't like to promote Beachbody, but still part of the company. And, you know, Isagenix, they have their own thing, and they all are just, you don't have to do that to help people.
Okay.
I don't know if that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, it did, because like because I'm not in your industry or anything like that, but some of the things that I see reps say, it's like, when are they crossing that fine line of like, you're going into dangerous territory because now you're giving advice that you really shouldn't be giving.
Yeah.
Because like there's I watched your video and it's the same exact Beachbody coach. I used her footage in one of my videos too, the one that was talking about intuitive eating.
Yes.
And so that's the thing, is that it's like, she's a Beachbody coach, but why, or I guess how can she talk about something like that if she's not knowledgeable in it? Like, how do you know what I mean?
It just comes down to reporting, and also each state has a little bit different practice regulations as far as like, even in the hospital, it's different from different states as far as like what the dietitian can do as far as like ordering diets and ordering TPN. Like when I was in the internship part, like the residency part, I was at one hospital in in Texas actually, and we were able to be a lot more hands-on with TPN, which is just, most of the time people are in ICU when they're in TPN. We also did a lot of tube feeding, but it was much more, we were more hands-on with that versus in Kansas when I was there, and the pharmacists would have more hands-on with that. And we would just do the individual balance and the macronutrients for that TPN or that tube feed too. So it just kind of depends on the state. Some states don't have those requirements for, like, very few states. There's a couple of ones, but other ones you need to be licensed in order to do that kind of individual coaching. And so that's really where I would be nervous. I would be scared if I was one of those people doing that. I already am always nervous about making sure that I follow the state's laws. Like because I work online, whenever somebody reaches out and they're in a different state that I haven't worked in before, I'll go to the licensing website and see what I can do. Some of them you can do up to like 30 hours of work in that state without being licensed. Other ones, you have to have the license. Other ones, they'll allow it if you have a license in another state. And so just being aware of that is something that is really important to me. And so that's why I like slowly am collecting different licenses in different states. But yeah, that I don't know if a lot of the people who are kind of branching off and doing their own kind of thing, if they are aware of that, if they know about that, like, I don't know.
Yeah, because
it's scary. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in that liability. And I also have liability insurance too, which I don't know if other people are doing that as well, but yeah.
Yeah, because like I remember when I was signing up for Beachbody, like my whole thing was I did want to help people that were in the same, I guess you can say, the same mindset as I was in, because I had gone through something in my life at the time, and I had gained, I think I got up to like close to 200 pounds. And when I went to the doctor, they did all of like the lab testing and stuff, and they told me that they were concerned because a lot of things were a lot higher than they should have been. So I was like, okay, well, I kind of have to go on a diet now, and or like watch what I eat. So I tried to do it by myself first, and then I ended up stumbling upon one of my friend's posts. She was a Beachbody coach on Facebook, and I saw the before and after picture. So I was like, and I know that you have your own opinion on before and after pictures too. So we can go over that as well. But and then I joined Beachbody, and that accountability group is what really helped me, because it was, and that's like the one thing that I really liked about Beachbody. As much as I really don't like the MLM structure, I will say that the accountability of a lot of women who were going through the same thing, because a lot of them would share like, I went through this in my life, and this is why I am now doing this. So like I was in the mindset of I wanted to help people who were at like their last resort type of a deal, like how I was. So that's what I really truly thought I was doing. And then when I signed up, I asked my upline, I was like, do I have to get any kind of licensing, or like you said, liability insurance, that kind of a thing? Because this is something that it's not just like I'm selling, I don't know, Color Street nail wraps or something. Like you're actually selling supplements and workout programs. So they were like, no, your social security number, starter kit, and you have to be 18 years or older. And I'm like, okay. But I thought, it has to be legal if they're still operating.
Yeah. So I think that they get around with that because it's kind of just broad and not one-to-one, like one-on-one. Like what Beachbody is saying on their website, it's all just kind of group focused, which that you can do that. Yeah. And so I think that's why they're able to do that. But then what I'm concerned about, what's harder to actually find is that individual kind of things that happen in those groups. So like they're using those other programs that you can, make and have those as long as they're not like focused and you're not trying to, like cure anything or do anything medical nutrition therapy kind of related. In a group setting, that is okay. But the one-on-one, that's where it starts to get a little sketch.
Okay. Then that actually makes sense because I was just wondering, how are they able to do this if they're, because some of them give out really questionable advice, and it's kind of like, okay, well, that's, I feel like
but it's not Beachbody doing it.
Yeah, it's the reps themselves. Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's why.
Yeah. So since I touched base on it, because I think that it's important to have both the discussion about MLMs and also some of your opinions from your perspective, but can you tell me a little bit about your opinion on before and after pictures? Because I think it's really important to come from someone with your expertise.
Yeah. So, and just a little bit of background, I became interested in nutrition because of my sports background as a kid. And I realized really early on how much nutrition played a role in my performance, my recovery, all of that. I felt it very early on. And I thought that was really exciting and really cool. And then that was probably like early teens. I did figure skating. Okay. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So very kind of body focused sport and so or the image, that's a big part of it, but then moving into more of the weight focused weight classes with Taekwondo. I did Olympic style Taekwondo as well. And that's really when I started to dial in even more with nutrition. And I was just finding information online at that point, whatever sounded good and whatever, trying to learn as much as I could as a teenager. And that's when I started to kind of get scared of certain foods. I was scared at a point of eating beef and eating pork. I thought those would make me unhealthy and all of a sudden, make me be at a body size that I didn't want to be at. So there was a lot of fear around that. And so in my undergrad, one of the best books that I ever read that's kind of opened my eyes in a different direction was Intuitive Eating. And so that is also kind of a confusing term for a lot of people. A lot of people don't realize that it's actually a book and there are principles within that book. And so when you hear intuitive eating, a lot of people like to put their own definition onto what that means. And it can be really confusing. And I'd be like, yeah, like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's a book. And so reading that several times and coming into as the after school and everything, learning more about other ways, other types of approaching nutrition as far as for sports nutrition, focusing a lot on nutrition periodization where macro counting is a really big thing. And at the same time, also learning more about the health at every size principles and that approach, and really applying it and learning more the hands-on of what is going to really help people. What does the science say? What does the research say about diets and what we know about them? And we have information about how long it typically takes for people to go back to where they were before and add additional weight to that. And when you look at those people versus people who didn't try to do those same measures, they don't see that same level of increase. And so that's why there's that whole idea of dieting yourself up in weight. So we kind of got off track. I kind of got off track. Oh, before and after pictures. Okay. So before and after pictures are something that I'm not the biggest fan of. If somebody wants to do that, personally, then I think, everybody can do what they want to do. the part that I have an issue with is when companies will use those to get people to join their program. And the reason why I say that is because just because one person is eating a specific amount of food and type and everything, if another person did the exact same intake, they might look very different. And so there's that. Even with physical activity, you can do the same sport, but some people are going to have a different build and their bodies are just going to be more like, they're going to catch that sport, like catch along with it a lot easier than someone else with a different kind of body type. And this is something even I'm currently studying and to take a board exam for sports dietetics to be specialized in that. And it was talking about that. And so I was like, yes, it's super exciting. I love to see that kind of talk in literature and in really reputable sources. But going back to the before and after, sorry, I keep going on tangents. I love all this stuff.
It's okay.
But so you have somebody who their body responded in one way. That doesn't mean that you're going to respond in that same way. That's one big reason. Another big reason is that it doesn't give you any information as far as what sustainability looks like for that person, right? Like a picture doesn't tell you how they're feeling, how their energy levels are, how their digestion is, how their nutrient levels are, how they're really enjoying that food. Like it does not say any of that. And a lot of times what people will find is that you can get to that place, but is it sustainable, right? Like, is it a way you want to live your life and still, have joy around food and eating? And then also you can really like doctor it up. You can change the lighting. You can change your posture. People even put contour. They contour their abs. That is not odd. Like that is not unheard of. Contouring abs.
I've seen it
for pictures. Yeah. And just the lighting, how you're standing. It's so easy to manipulate those pictures. So those are big reasons why I don't. And also it kind of puts this idea that your before is such a bad place and your after is like the place that you should strive towards, when again, not knowing all the situations around that, maybe your before picture really like it, maybe, you didn't need to change it. And at the same time, there is sometimes people will say, well, that kind of thing gives me so much confidence. Like I'm excited about it. I want to show it off. Oh, this is another thing I want to say. I need to make a note of it. That they want to do that, but in like to the people who are the before picture who didn't even have any issues, them seeing that and being like, oh, well, am I not good enough? Do I need to change for that? And then the confidence that is received, a lot of times the confidence is, that's a good thing. We want people to be confident. I love people to have that confidence in their body. But unfortunately, a lot of times that confidence is less rooted in you following through and doing something and more rooted in how the society treats you after. And so it's this confidence from the society treating you better at a smaller size, which is messed up in my opinion. And then
yeah,
one more thing.
I actually had okay, go ahead.
Sometimes people will have weight loss and they'll not mention it or anything. And someone will see them and be like, oh, like you lost weight. You look great. You look fabulous. Like, what are you doing? And that person might be depressed and not eating. That person might have some gastric issues, digestive issues, and not able to eat. They might have cancer and not be able to eat. And so just by automatically saying you're smaller, you look great, like sometimes they did that on purpose, but other times not so much. Or I've had some people tell me that, and I didn't, intentionally try to change my body or anything after seeing them like for a year prior. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to respond. Like, no, I didn't change body size. I'm wearing the exact same clothes. Like, I don't know why, maybe the lighting, like something looks different, but I was just like, did you think that I was bigger before? Like, was that a problem to you?
Yeah.
I don't know how to respond to that. So yeah.
I know that when I did Beachbody, it wasn't so much publicly on like social media or anything, but I did have people in my life, I will not call them out, but I did have people tell me that I looked so much prettier and more beautiful in my after picture. Yeah, so just hearing people say that after Beachbody, like, oh, you look so pretty now. And it's like, so was I ugly before because I was 40 something pounds heavier?
Yes,
So,
it's so damaging. It can be so damaging. And what we know with the research and how people tend to gain it back plus more, if they had all of those praises at that smaller weight and then they go back, like, where is their confidence going to be at? Where is like that praise and the confidence that they got at that small weight going to be at that weight where it is sustainable, where their set point is? Working through having a healthy relationship with your food and your body, there's a lot of, and this is from the society that we're brought up in. This is nothing on the individual person. We're not a victim blaming channel here or anything. There's a lot of internalized fat phobia in like most people. Most people have to intentionally work on that in order to move past it, because we fear that fat. We fear what we have seen and heard comes along with it. And what we also know is that thin people can get diabetes, thin people can get cardiovascular disease, they can get all of these other things, where if they go to the doctor, their doctor won't just tell them to lose weight. They're going to actually try to treat them for that cause, versus somebody at a higher weight who the doctor coming in with the exact same thing, maybe even potentially, better lab values or the same, that doctor will just tell them to lose weight before doing anything else. And so that is a problem in itself. But one of the really analogies, or one of my favorite analogies to use is for that kind of yo-yo dieting, is if you think about being underwater and you're trying to breathe through a straw, you're trying to breathe the oxygen, you can still get air, but you're getting like diet air essentially, right? As soon as you get out of the water, your body is going to naturally compensate by taking large, deep breaths of air. And you can't control that. Like, that's just your body trying to get the air that it's been missing. After a little while, though, your body will go back to the normal intake of air and it'll calm down. Kind of the same thing happens with nutrition, like what your intake is after you come off of a diet. So you get out from under the water, and a lot of times what happens is there's that overconsumption piece, and that can be very scary. It feels out of control. And at that point, a lot of times people will then go back underwater because it is safer and it feels better, it feels more secure. When if they just kind of allowed themselves to be outside of that water and cope with the overconsumption and that natural body reaction, then they would get to a place of more normal intake as far as what they feel comfortable with. And kind of another analogy is the pendulum, right? Like, you have the pendulum. If you pull it back with a lot of restriction, once that goes down, it'll go into the opposite direction. And so that's why you have that, like, that binge restrict cycle that happens so much. When if we just kind of let it go after that restriction, we will most of the time see that kind of intake. But if we just kind of let it hang out, let it chill, it'll go to the center. And that is normal eating. That is okay. Sometimes we do eat a little bit more. Sometimes we eat a little bit less. But as long as we're not like going to these different extremes, that's a healthy place to be.
Yeah. My other question is, when it comes to like toxic diet culture, do you think that MLM companies and MLM reps are feeding into that?
Yes.
Is that a loaded question?
I think that's why they're so popular. I feel like they're just both, one is selling a dream of a better life with unlimited income. Another one is selling a dream of a better life with an amazing body. Put those together, people are going to want to join. And what we know with what the FTC says about the MLMs and what the result of it for the vast majority of people, and what we know what the research says about diets and what it says for the vast majority of people, again, putting them together, I think they're some of the worst kind of MLM companies out there, because they're preying on vulnerabilities. I mean, even you have talked about so many times of you try to get other people to join from where you were at before, which nobody ever, you've said this before, nobody ever joins when they're feeling great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's like, I love my body. I love my life. I'm going to join. You're coming at it from wanting to have those you have those dreams. And so I think that they are so smart to do that, but smart does not mean ethical, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there was something else I wanted to ask you and it just slipped my mind, but it was something along the lines of like what we're discussing right now. Completely slipped my mind. Oh, okay. Another question. Since I'm very, I guess you can say I know Beachbody because I was in it. What do you think? I know that you've done a dive into Beachbody and their program and everything, but for anyone who hasn't watched your channel yet or hasn't watched that video yet, what do you think of the portion control containers and their nutrition aspects of their program?
Yeah, so it doesn't really support your listening to your internal cues of hunger and fullness. And I mean, I tried that for, I think it was a day. I couldn't last. I was so hungry. I didn't even work out that day because I was like, I followed the actual little guide. It doesn't put ownership into that person's their actions around food. And that's one of the reasons why MLM has taken a hold of the word empower. And I feel like it gets washed down a lot, but I really like that word. And I've been using that for years. I really like the idea of having empowered eating, which includes you having control over it and you deciding what to eat, you deciding the amount to eat, and aligning that with your values, with your cues, and even, what you're in the mood for. And to me, it is so much, it's kind of the whole idea of that teaching a person to fish versus feeding them, whatever it says.
Yeah.
Diets like that, they give you the fish. And that's not sustainable. So my idea of helping someone with their nutrition and health is teaching them to fish.
Yeah.
And I don't want to work with people forever. Like I want to be like, okay, go fly off, versus Beachbody or, Arbonne, keeping people. I mean, even with the Herbalife one, I found a PDF for distributors, and it was talking about how get to know your person, get to know your people who you want to sell to, and try to find things that would help them like long term, like what you can keep them in purchasing over and over again. And I was like, that's so manipulative.
Yeah.
If you want to have health, if you want to help people, like, doing check-ins every once in a while, that's fine. Like, that's good. But you should want to have the goal of setting them free and them living out what they learned, learning how to fish for themselves.
Yeah. Like basically they're leaving the nest. Like, here
Yeah.
you go. You have all the tools. Do it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. That actually, because like when it comes to Beachbody, it seems like, and I know that I keep going back to Beachbody, but that's because that's just the one that I know. But yeah, it seems like they just want to have customers the entire time. They don't want to let you go, because that means that they're losing a customer essentially. Whereas like for you, it's different because you have clients. Like your job is to teach them, and then they go off and do your own thing. Yeah. What do you think of the Herbalife supplements and stuff?
Herbalife. So every time I look at the ingredients, like the first source of protein is whey, which, that's fine. The first source of carbohydrates is fructose, which if you're having that, and there, you can still have that, and that's okay. But if that is your main source of carbohydrates for your meal replacement, like your liver is gonna be, that's what your liver breaks down, fructose, versus glucose that can be utilized by all the cells in your body. And so I just wish that even the formula itself was different. But even beyond that, having the idea that meal replacement shakes, they can be great if you are working out and you realize you need to eat something, but you really don't feel like having a full meal with with whole foods. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have that. Sometimes it's fun to just kind of drink a shake, and it can be tasty and everything. But to sell it as something that you have to do for health or for weight loss is not appropriate, in my opinion. It's not necessary. And you're not having the mastication process, the chewing that helps your body to tell itself that you're getting full. It's going to be also easier to digest as far as like getting through your system. And so you're probably going to feel more hungry. I feel more hungry whenever I have shakes and instead of like food.
Yeah, that's how I am too.
Yeah.
That was,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that was the issue with Beachbody, is like the shake. It was fine in the beginning.
Mhm.
But then once I started working out more and more, it was just like I was starving. I was so hungry.
That's a really
So
good point of like, and this goes for diets across the board. A lot of times we start out strong, but then the deficit gets to you. Your body starts to realize, okay, we were okay with the little deficit before, but you keep dragging this on. Let's go ahead and have you crave this really high energy food source so that we can stop it.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I would on my cheat days with Beachbody, I indulged quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a whole entire day of basically eat whatever you want, because starting Monday, you're back to the strict dieting again. So yeah, that was, yeah. Yeah. And with Beachbody, they try to tell you, like, they were saying how, like, oh, you can't have at least this is what happened in like the behind the scenes group that I was in, that like you shouldn't have cheat days, like you could have every once in a while. But I made it like a every Sunday thing. I was like, you know what? Like we usually go to my in-laws or like my parents, like not anymore because we're obviously in Florida and there's a pandemic right now. But we used to do that like every Sunday. We'd go to either or. And I mean, my husband's side of the family is Italian. My side of the family is Polish. There's a lot of food. So like, I didn't want to pass it up, because there was one Easter. It was when I first started Beachbody. It was like, I don't know, probably like a month into it or something like that. And it was Easter. And I went over to my parents first, and then I went to my in-laws. And when I went to my in-laws, because I had eaten like one, because I was really strict in the beginning, I had eaten like one thing that wasn't Beachbody approved, like the portion control container approved. So when I went to Easter at my in-laws' house, I literally did not eat anything, and I just drank my Shakeology. I was starving. And I was like, because I counted, I guess I don't remember if I counted the calories, but I was like, oh, I ate way too much at my parents' house. So now like I have to just drink Shakeology and that's it. So yeah, it's bad.
Bad.
I know. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's just, they don't teach that kind of like enjoyment. I don't use, cheat meals, right? So, and you knew that.
Yeah.
Really, because like if you want to have something like that, like that's okay, but let's try to be present, cut out distractions if you can, as much as you can, and really utilize the sensory aspects of eating. So like, how does it taste? What does it look like? How would you describe it to somebody who wasn't there? Or do different smells start to emerge? Does it remind you of other foods? Do more flavors start to emerge? What is the texture? What is the mouthfeel? Does that change as you chew? And just kind of being there to really enjoy it, and be more mindful with that. I think in Japanese culture, they have a word for it. I used to know it. It flew out of my head, but basically just sitting down and being mindful and enjoying it. All of that in one word. That is just and I think it's a beautiful thing of allowing yourself that permission to have those more fun foods and really enjoying it, and kind of I don't know if that's right, I don't know what kind of word I'm trying to use, but it's funny because after you were able to do that, there's really not that guilt that's associated with it. And at the same time, it kind of is that whole idea, like reverse psychology of if you allow yourself to have it after you get through that phase of that other overconsumption piece, that binge piece that happens a lot, it's just less exciting. And so it's not as tempting, I would say.
Yeah. So do you have anything to add to, I guess, the discussion and like this part of the series? Because anyone watching this, part 2 is going to be on Kat's channel.
I would say that really seeing the parallels of the MLM lies and dieting culture lies and how they really are manipulative is something to be mindful of. And remembering that you can approach health and you can be healthier and not subscribe to diet culture.
Thank you. Thank you for being on my channel and kind of, giving your input. I think it's really important. Like I said in the beginning, I think it's really important to have people who know more about this or more educated about this, because I know nothing about nutrition. I mean, I'm not even going to pretend to know anything about how the body works when it comes to food. So I think it's great what you're doing on your channel. And just the fact that you do dives into the ingredients and the programs and stuff like that. So thank you for being on my channel today.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited to hop on over and you be on my channel.
Yep.
All right, everyone. If you have watched up to here, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Make sure to go hop on over to Kat Benson's channel, Unlock Nutrition, right now. Do it right now. Okay, I can't force you to do anything. Kat is a great person. She is very knowledgeable. So just wanted to say that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're side by side now.
Yay.
Oh my gosh, you can still see her butt. She's splooting right now.
It's always a good video if you have a little doggy booty.
Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely a doggy booty right over there.
My cat is laying down over here.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of the other pups might come in too, but this one's just gonna stay there. They like to stay in this room for whatever reason, and I don't know if you can see all their toys. I tried to pick up, but they just keep bringing them in. So I'm like, okay, I guess this is your room now.
If this was higher, then you'd be able to see all my dog's toys.
Yeah.
You can see them all on the floor.
Yeah, she's already playing with it. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, it's just part of what happens, what comes with the territory of being a dog parents.
Yep.